Hello and welcome back to another video. Today we're doing Arc GPU and the game will be No Rest for the Wicked. I know I already made a couple videos about this game and it's still in early access, but I love this game so much, so here's another one. And this time is on Arc GPU. The dev didn't list any Intel GPU, the recommended or the minimum requirement. So let's find out how well it plays. Welcome to Respawn PC, I'm Dunk, let's game on. So the setup will be a i5-12600K, 32GB of memory, and the Arc A310, the lower hand of Intel Arc GPU. We're going to play at 1080p, and for this card we're going to do the preset balance. I guess this should be called medium, but anyway, FSR balance. The GPU can play the game easily. We have an average of 45 FPS. The GPU is pegged at 100%, and out of its 4GB of VRAM, we're using 4.9, meaning we have 900 MB used from the system memory to help that GPU. My little i5 is doing well, under 20% of utilization, and the system memory, we're using 17.7. This game is heavily memory hungry, but everything is so beautiful in this game. Everything is end draw, if I remember right, so no wonder the heart is heavy on the system memory. Next up, we have the Arc A380. Now we can put the preset quality, or maybe just call I. I'm not sure I understand their preset settings. FSR at balance, and we have an average of 64 FPS. GPU is pegged at 99% and using 5.7 out of 6GB of VRAM. So maybe we can play a bit more with the settings to have the VRAM max out. CPU utilization stayed the same, and the system memory we drop at 14.8. So right now with the A380, we can play with only 16GB of system memory. But depending where you are on the map, it will eat up more memory. So don't take my word on the 14GB of system memory for that area of the map. Jumping to my favorite Arc GPU, the A580, 8GB of VRAM. We now put the setup still at 1080p, but the preset at quality, or I, and the FSR at quality also. We get an average of 78 FPS. The game is running super smooth. We're using a 7.8GB of VRAM of that card, which is perfect, but we're not pegged at 100%. The GPU is in the i7 to 80% of utilization, so we probably can even crank higher the settings. The CPU is in the mid-20s of percentage of utilization, and the system memory we are at a 16.3GB of utilization out of 32. Highly playable, even if they didn't put any Arc GPU in the minimum or recommended settings, and it plays super smooth on top of that. Even though there's no XeSS, I don't know if they're going to put XeSS, but with FSR, perfect. Next up is the A750. I have the Elden Ring edition at the 1080p preset best quality, or maybe ultra high settings. FSR still at quality, and we get an average of 80 FPS, and the frame time is smooth. This is 8GB VRAM card, and we're using 6.8. The GPU itself is not pegged at 100%, using 60 to 80% of utilization. The CPU will climb a little bit, we're getting closer to 30% of utilization, and for the system memory, we are at 14 to 16. The game is just in early access, and the gameplay is so smooth. I didn't encounter any bug so far. I'm quite happy. If it wasn't written in Steam that this is an early access, I won't even known. And finally, the A770. I have the 16GB variant limited edition of Intel. We were already at the maximum settings with the A750, so we're going to use the same setting with the A770 LE, which is preset best quality and FSR quality, and we get the exact same result, 80 FPS, butter smooth. But again, we're not using the maximum VRAM of the card, which is 16. We only at 7.1GB of VRAM, and the GPU is not pegged either, in the mid 70 to 80% of utilization. CPU wise is still in the high 20s, and the system memory is still in the 14 to 16GB of utilization. This card can definitely play the game at 1440p, but that's the only issue I will encounter. Every time I want to try to play at 1440p, the game will give me a black screen in the menu. I'm not entirely sure if it's because of the game or because of Intel driver, but 1440p, I got a black screen when I reach the menu after launching the game. Either way, at 1080p it's highly playable with that kind of FPS and maximum visual quality for this stunning, appealing, high candy game. Anyway, you have it. Regardless of which Intel Arc GPU you're having, you can play this game no issue. Thanks to have come watching, and see you in the next one. And subscribe.